And at the moment, Prime Minister Boris Johnson is setting out a 4-week delayed lifting of all restrictions beyond the 21st of June. Businesses are expressing fears and also about heavy losses. We understand that the clubbing trade body is threatening legal action as the easing of England lockdown is delayed. Well, joining us on the program from Cambridge in the United Kingdom is Mr. Tunde Doherty. He's a COVID-19 survivor and also a project management consultant, global labor and social change advocate. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Millicent, for having me on this program.
Briefly tell us about finding out that you had COVID-19 and the quarantine experience.
It was very awful, terrifying, just as if it's time for one to get out of this world. It's not an experience that should be wished to one's enemy. It was very awful, I must tell you, terrifying. And in fact, just being grateful to God and the proactiveness of the government of the United Kingdom to handle the pandemic at its incubation period.
So now you've passed that, you're free from COVID-19. I also understand that you recently arrived the UK and you were isolated. Share with us that experience.
Thankfully, I was grateful that I passed through the pandemic with the United Kingdom government proactiveness in rolling out tests. And rolling out testing, and they were able to cope at least further spread. If you look at the population of death and infections, you know UK had its own full length of the COVID infection. But thereafter, there was serious consideration, serious research that went forward thereafter, which at the end of the day provides us with a remedy in the name of the vaccine, the COVID vaccine that we have developed in Oxford here in the UK. And when it was rolled out, there was a very good planning to making sure that every citizen got his first dose and second dose of the vaccine. And I'm grateful that I had the first dose and the second dose. So that gave me an assurance that yes, I can travel, and my head got back to normal. So with that, I was happy, and I recovered my energy back. So therefore, I traveled, even though the government has rules in place, the traffic light rules, as we know, the green, amber, and red. Fortunately, I would say unfortunately or fortunately, I traveled to a red country, which surprisingly they had a very good model of restriction where they manage traffic, they manage human relationship, they manage the washing of hands, sanitizing your hand, nose covering your nose, and social distancing, which really worked well in the country that I visited. And I returned back to the UK, and I would say I paid the price. But even though returning back to UK, paying the price, there are still reasonably enough government requirements. I was a little bit disappointed in the implementation process of the red rules, which culminate with delayed clearance at the airport when you get back to the UK. And the security apparatus, they were not organized, and you get to the hotel where you quarantine, you've been treated like a plague, even though as a resident there is supposed to be what we call discretion. There's supposed to be a waiver to rules if you have gone through those processes, because before you travel you are asked to undertake a PCR test. Where before you return back, you undertake a PCR test. Why in quarantine you do 2 PCR tests? At the end of the day, all these things were clear, and we returned back home just a day ago, yesterday Sunday. It was good implementing rules, but sometimes too you must be reasonable while implementing the rules, looking at the fact that the citizen has fulfilled the obligation of government in terms of obedience to such rules.
So I'm sure you're definitely one of those who are really looking forward to Freedom Day in the UK.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
But you know, the other thing now is that the government is going forward to further delay the June 21 lift of the restriction. But what you won't blame the government. Currently, we know the variant. We have the Delta variant, which emanates from the Indian variant, and I can tell you that it's really spreading here in the UK, especially in some areas that is not far from where I am, Central Bedfordshire. So we have to be careful. Even as at that too, when you're careful, we must realize the fact that we are going to be living with this disease. The only thing we pray is that research that are ongoing should be able to give us on the counter drugs that we can use if we have a feeling of the infection.
All right, Mr. Tunde Doherty, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us on the program. Many thanks.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.